Hey guys, it's Generalkidd here. How is everyone doing today? So for today's video, we are going to be taking a look at 10 things that you probably never noticed before in Halo 3, in the cutscenes specifically. Because, there's actually a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, or that you would never have noticed by playing Halo 3 normally. But with some mods that let us explore around cutscenes, thanks to my friend Black Diamond, we can actually take a look at a lot of these interesting things that you never noticed before. So the first thing that's actually really interesting, and actually in my opinion the most interesting personally, because I have some future project ideas to work with it, but the first thing is during the epilogue cutscene in Halo 3. This is the cutscene after the whole memorial with Lord Hood. You see Chief floating around in space on the rear section of the Forerunner Dawn, and you'll notice that obviously he's floating around because he's in space and he has zero gravity, and you see junk floating around and everything. Now, normally you would think that actually all that stuff is just scripted to float in that certain direction, and Chief floats in a certain way as well. But that's actually not entirely the case. Yeah, Chief's movements are scripted, but everything else actually is zero gravity. This whole cutscene, this whole section of the map is entirely zero G, and impressively, it is actually really accurate zero gravity physics. And there's no other mission in Halo 3, in gameplay or anything, or even custom game settings, where you can actually have true zero G. So as you can see, it's actually really accurate. When you throw something like a grenade, it doesn't arc or anything. Projectiles and everything, they all behave correctly in zero gravity. Like you see, when I throw a plasma grenade, it just flies straight forward like a rocket launcher. It doesn't arc, it doesn't bounce, it doesn't drop down or anything. And if it bounces off something, see, its momentum is actually it doesn't slow down. Well, I mean, it does lose a little bit of speed when it hits something, but it bounces off and it keeps flying still. It doesn't stick, doesn't drop down. And if I spam plasma grenades this way, I can have a lot of plasma grenades floating around the room. If anybody ever watched The Expanse, this actually looks like a scene out of The Expanse, with the protomolecule floating around and everything. But anyways, as you can see, really accurate zero G physics in that cutscene. If you enabled the mod to be let you play during the cutscene. But anyways, for number 2, the cutscene that we see here is at the end of the storm, and this is where you see a bunch of longswords attacking Truth's ship, and then 3 frigates attacking. Now, you can actually kind of see this without modding the scene, but we're going to take a much closer look so you guys can see it a lot more clearly. But actually, there's a couple interesting things in this cutscene, but we'll make it all one thing for the purposes of time. So, the first thing, before we actually get into the main thing, is this is where the frigates come from during the cutscene. You see one here, and the other 2 are actually stuck inside the mountain there. And then when the time is right, then they fly forward. But the one thing that you might have never noticed before, you can kind of see it in a normal cutscene, but it's a lot more clear this way, is that all these frigates are all the same. They are all forward on the Dawns. There's 3 forward on the Dawns attacking Truth's ship. Now, this is not entirely surprising. Obviously there's no point in making different models with different textures for each different ship that attacks. But if you saw my video about the frigate and ODST's prepared job cutscene, in ODST, Bungie actually did go through the effort to change the names on different ships and cutscenes that are really far away that you would never see. But in Halo 3, they did not do that. In Halo 3, they just reused the exact same model over and over again. Now, for number 3, this one's actually also kind of interesting, and you never see this in a regular cutscene. But here's the normal cutscene first. This is when Truth starts activating the portal, and it releases a huge EMP wave that stuns all the UNSC ships as well as all the longswords. And the ships start they're stunned and they start dropping down. But if we change our angle in this cutscene, and we just move aside a little bit, and then we watch the frigates as they get stunned again. If we look closely, look under this frigate to the left. I'm going to zoom in. You can see right there, as it gets stunned, a Covenant ship in the background also gets stunned. You actually do not see that in the regular cutscene, but going on behind the scenes, the Covenant ships nearby, they also get stunned and affected in a similar way as the frigates, which is actually pretty cool and a little bit of like extra cutscene that we don't see. Now, number 4. For those of you who remember, in the legendary ending of Halo 3, we see Master Chief's section of the Forerunner Dawn drift towards an unknown planet, which we later find out in Halo 4 is actually called Requiem, a Forerunner shield world, I guess is what it's called. I don't remember if that's the exact term. But back then, we actually don't see much of it. We only get a very brief glimpse of it. Let's actually take a closer look to see what Requiem looks like in Halo 3, more accurately than just that really brief glimpse. So here it is, and here's when it starts lighting up. So right off the bat, we can see that Requiem in Halo 3 is actually a semicircle. You only get to see half of it. They don't have the entire planet there. And it's actually also not a sphere, like an actual planet object. It's just a flat 2D semicircle texture, I guess. Or you could say that Bungie actually supports the flat Earth theory, or the flat semicircle planet theory. But yeah, so that is what Requiem entirely looks like. We can't actually see much more than that, because that's the most we could see, but we can at least get a little closer and you could see a little more detail, but which it doesn't really matter because we see the full Requiem in Halo 4 at the beginning. Now for number 5, this one is also pretty cool actually, but during this cutscene on the Covenant, this is when you go inside to try to save Johnson. You see Chief running down his hallway, and then all of a sudden he runs into the elevator shaft here, where we realize it's he can't make it to Johnson in time. They're not close enough, and that's where we see Johnson getting beat up by the brute, and then later Manakes flies in to attempt to save Johnson. So what did we not notice in this cutscene? Well, let's fly around again and take a look. So right here, as Chief is running down the hallway, this door actually opens up, and it reveals that there is an actual hallway behind that door. We never see that hallway used anywhere before. In the as far as we can tell in the cutscene, he just runs down and the scene just cuts to him inside the elevator room. But this hallway actually exists, and we actually see Chief running down through the hallway. And, you know, it's just something that we don't see in the cutscene, because later he teleports into this room, and that's when the camera cuts to it. So it is mostly an unused hallway, and it's pretty interesting, like, why it's even there. Maybe at some point it was supposed to be playable, and that's why the hallway's there, because you're supposed to actually physically run through it, but they changed it to just a cutscene. Who knows? But it's actually pretty interesting that there's a whole, like, hidden hallway here that we never get to see. Now, number 6. This one's a pretty obvious one, but I just wanted to point it out again since we're already on this cutscene. So in this cutscene, and actually even to this day, some people still have never noticed it until I point it out, and they're like, "Oh!" But look here, look at the brute holding Johnson. It's just a regular minor brute, right? So as you can see, the minor brute is there, and then when a cutscene switches to here, the brute holding Johnson suddenly transforms into a brute chieftain. So it's a little mistake with a cutscene, a little glitch. Now, actually, that glitch can be fixed by doing another glitch, the what I like to call the time travel glitch. But that's another glitch for another video, and I've already done like several videos of it about how you can do like an alternate cutscene glitch on this mission, which for some reason that glitch fixes the brute in that little on the monitor and shows a brute chieftain holding Johnson correctly, which is weird that it takes a glitch to fix a glitch in this case. But anyways, for number 7, I actually did show this briefly in a previous video as well, but I'm going to show it in a more official manner here. So in the arrival cutscene, this is the very beginning of Halo 3 in the intro cutscene, we see a giant fireball streaking across the sky and then a little mini fireball separating from it. The giant fireball is Truth's ship, and the mini fireball is obviously Chief coming down. So what's special about this? Well, if we use the Xenia Xbox 360 emulator to play this game, Because the emulator is not like perfect yet, it doesn't fully render everything. In this case, it doesn't render the fireball. So by peeling away that fireball effect, we can actually see what's under it. And what's very interesting is if you look closely, you have to look close to see it because it's not entirely clear, but you'll be able to see it pretty soon. When you peel away the fireball effect, especially the giant one, you can see that it's actually Truth ship. The whole key ship is actually rendered. And that's actually really cool because the fact that they even bothered to render it, to have a whole model and everything for it, is pretty impressive, like, attention to detail. They could have just like kept it a giant fireball streaking across the sky with nothing underneath it, and nobody would ever notice the difference. But just for comparison purposes, this is the giant fireball on regular Halo 3, you know, unmodded or anything. And in the emulator, this is what it looks like if we peel away the fireball effect. You can see Truth's ship right there, his key ship. The entirety of it. I'm not sure if it's like fully detailed or like it's like really low poly if we fly up closer, but at the very least it's there. His ship is actually there. It's not just, you know, a fireball effect streaking across the sky like you would expect. And likewise, for number 8, in the same cutscene, when Chief separates, he's we can see that he's a separate fireball that separates from the main fireball. So you might have guessed it, but yes, if we peel away Chief's fireball, we can also see a little more detail underneath it. But this one is not as clear, but I will show you the difference real quick. So here we are on the emulator, the Xenia emulator again, this version of Halo 3. So here's when Chief separates. He still glows a lot compared to Truth's ship, but mostly there's no fireball effect. So we can see in a second what it looks like. So there you have it. It was only a brief glimpse, but fortunately, with a little bit of editing, we can peel away the effects again and show you guys for comparison. So here it is, Chief's fireball in regular Halo 3, and then let's peel away the fireball effect. And there is Chief's Forerunner door, right, the door that he rides down. Now, I don't think we actually see Chief riding on it. I think it's just the door. So while it is still pretty good attention to detail, it's missing Chief. So, you know, it's pretty cool, but this one doesn't go all the way like the key ship does. Now for number 9, this one is at the very beginning of the Covenant during the intro cutscene on this mission. If you remember, during this cutscene, as you're flying towards the first tower, all 3 ships split up into different teams. Johnson goes to their tower, the elites go to the second tower, and Chief intends to go to the first tower. However, you guys get shot down by an AA Wraith, and as you can see, you're carrying Warthogs, and the Warthogs get dropped onto the ground. And both of them will roll there, and during gameplay, when you take a look at the Warthogs that crash down, you will see that the Warthogs are all blown up. They are completely destroyed, on fire, damaged, and totally undrivable. So, what do we miss about this cutscene, or what do we not notice, I should say? Well, again, with the same mod to play and fly around during the cutscenes, we do a different angle during the cutscene. We can see what happens when the Warthogs are dropped down. So here's they come dropping down and crashing, and let's pause and fly and get a closer look. As you can see, the Warthogs are all in pristine condition, perfectly drivable, undamaged, you know, just perfect condition Warthogs. So they drop down perfect, but during gameplay, for some reason, they explode or are destroyed. But during the cutscene, they are entirely perfect the entire time. They are destroyed for mysterious, unknown reasons, essentially. Now, for number 10, this last one, this happens during the ending of Sierra 117. You get in the Pelican, you fly away, and you land in this little cave that is the entrance to the Crow's Nest base. That's on the next mission. But it looks like you flew far away. You know, you flew quite a distance, and then the Pelican lands in this little cave here, in the opening to the Crow's Nest base. So, this cave is actually very interesting, and I did actually cover it in a previous video, but I'm going to explain it now in this context. So once again, let's take a look at what the cave is first, or at least let's take a look at this cutscene from a different perspective with the same mod from all the other previous cutscenes that I've showed you. Here is the cave. Actually, here's the Marines first, observing as the Pelican comes in, and this is the cave that the Pelican lands in. For those of you who have watched like a lot of my videos in the past, especially this past year, you may recognize this cave. This cave is from my video about the Cave of 1,000 Faces. Now, I didn't name that, but in the past, a long time ago, that's what people called this cave, because inside there's a lot of like marks on the walls where people think look like faces. It's kind of like an optical illusion. But let me just quickly fast forward like a scene from the original video and show you guys roughly where the cave is. So if you glitch out the map at the end of Sierra 117, and you make your way here, up the hill and everything, all the way back here, it's right here. This is where the cave is, basically across the river at the end of Sierra 117. But yeah, so there you have it, folks. That is hopefully 10 interesting things that you never noticed before about Halo 3's cutscenes. And if you did find this to be interesting and you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like, leave your thoughts and comments, just anything you feel I missed, behind the scenes or cutscenes that people didn't notice before, that I didn't notice apparently. Feel free to let me know, and I'll take a look at it and maybe cover it in a future video. But other than that, just anything else you also want me to check out, just let me know as well. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.